after finally waking up from a nap on the train. Next thing he knows, this dude wakes up in a totally different world. He just scored the camper class, a job that literally nobody in this world has ever heard of. He can literally level up just by hanging out and camping. He can literally pull anything he wants straight from his old world. He's even got a massive water tank that refills itself automatically. He's packing a sharp knife and a massive axe. There was a massive spread of snacks, meals, and pretty much every kind of food you can imagine. He can even throw up a massive shield to block any attack. Master everything from epic fighting moves to insane magic and way more. I'm not gonna spoil all the best parts yet, so let's just dive right into the story. Every single day our MC just works until he crashes, and he's totally desperate to ditch the boring paperwork for some fresh air and trees. Yep, you heard that right. He actually wants to go camping. That's exactly what he was thinking. But how did things get this crazy? He seriously never thought it would actually happen right here of all places. Sitting right there on the train is 24-year-old Akito Machida. He's been working for 33 days straight and was literally about to crumble into dust, but he actually made it. Props to him. His boss screams at him every single day and he's stuck doing everyone's work while they're out sick. But the nightmare finally ends today because he's got a massive day off tomorrow. He's looking to reset and chill in the great outdoors, so he decides to head out for a camping trip. Akito ended up totally crashing out right there on the train. He was just thinking about chilling at home for a bit first. And after that, he's totally heading out to go camping. A massive rattling sound suddenly jolts him awake as the train screeches to a halt, and he realizes he totally missed his stop. He bolts out the doors and looks around, having absolutely no clue where the heck he ended up. He steps off the train and just freezes because the station is pitch black and totally empty, leaving him wondering where the heck he even is. He looks up and spots a sign for Kisaragi Station, a place he's never even heard of. Did he hop on the wrong train? No way. He heads over to the ticket gate and notices there's no one working, making him wonder if this whole station is just totally empty. Is this some creepy urban legend? Nah, he's just psyching himself out. But when he pulls out his phone to check his location, he's got absolutely nothing. There isn't even a schedule, so he heads outside to find some answers, using his phone light to guide him down the road. 2 hours have passed and he's still wandering around totally lost. Things were getting super weird, but then he spotted a tunnel with a bright light at the end. Wait, is that an exit up ahead? He's gonna go for it. He pushed deeper into the tunnel and suddenly heard a sound he knew way too well. And that smell, it's just like the salty ocean air. Finally, he stepped out and the bright sun hit him right in the face. The second he stepped outside, he was hit by the sound of massive waves crashing against the shore. Wait, how is it already daytime? It was literally just night a second ago. This has to be a prank. Hold on, he just realized his whole outfit changed out of nowhere. He turned around to leave, but the tunnel was totally gone, so he pinched himself to make sure he wasn't just stuck in a crazy dream. This is 100% real, and he's just standing there looking totally lost. Suddenly, he heard a rustle behind him and his whole body jumped in shock. His eyes popped out of his head when he realized he was looking at a pink drill. Nope, it was actually a seriously gorgeous girl. She was so insanely gorgeous it didn't even seem real. She caught him zoning out and asked if he was okay, so Akito bowed thinking she was a cosplayer. But he couldn't stop staring and got super flustered since he was totally lost. After everything that just went down, Akito is totally rattled and asks her what she even means by that. Wait, did he seriously forget? Their ship got totally wrecked in a massive storm and she barely made it to the beach. But he was right there with her, so she's just super glad she's not the only one who made it out alive. Looks like she's totally stuck here too. It finally clicked that he might actually live on the island instead of being a survivor. Especially when Akito waved and said he just came through a tunnel. She's super confused until she realizes she totally forgot to say who she is. This is Olivia Hufflepyman, the oldest daughter of a fancy noble family, and as Akito introduces himself, he's totally confused by her title and thinks she's just way too into. Olivia thought his name sounded super different and asked where he was from, so Akito told her he's actually from Japan. Olivia didn't recognize it at all, but Akito told her not to sweat it. Instead, he just asked her if she had any clue where they were. She has no idea where this island is because she was just traveling from the capital kingdom to marry Prince Nisal of the Lengman Kingdom. And as Akito hears all these names like wait, is this for real? Did he just stumble into a whole different world? Hold up, if that's actually true, then where's that legendary scene we're all waiting for? The Isekai god didn't even show up to give him a cheat skill. He totally wants one for himself. Why didn't he get anything? Seriously, what gives? Olivia is shocked. Olivia noticed Akito looked totally lost, so she asked him what his job and skills were before they went to check things out. She figured he was clueless about how jobs and skills work, so she explained that everyone has them, including her, a holy warrior who uses skills to boost her body's power. She showed him the trick to checking his stats by pressing 2 fingers to his forehead, and Akito did exactly that to pop open his screen. Suddenly, his status window flashes open, showing his unique job as a camper, and he's already got 5 points. Hold up, is being a camper seriously a real job? He's using those points to unlock some epic new skills. He checks out skill 3, and realizes he has to unlock them one by one, with the numbers and brackets showing exactly how many points he needs to spend. He looked down and saw he gets 4 points every single day, meaning he'll level up after just 2 days of camping. He can trade those points for gear, so he tapped the menu But trading items isn't free, and since he's only got 5 points, he has to save up for skill 3 instead of just swapping stuff whenever he wants. Olivia leans in to ask if he finally figured out his job, and Akito looks back totally embarrassed, wondering if she'll think he's just messing with her. Finally, he just straight up told her that he was a camper. Olivia's never heard of a job like that before, so she asks him to break it down for her. Camping is all about soaking up the great outdoors and feasting on his incredible cooking. Stargazing is the move at night, but he's got tons of other ways to have a blast, like just chilling out and doing whatever he feels like. He's not even sure his job counts compared to a holy warrior, since it's basically a playboy class and Akito is just a total noob on paper. He basically got all his info from binge-watching videos, but Olivia told him there's no reason to be so humble about it. She heard that even a total player can become a legendary sage if he masters his path, so she's sure he's gonna be a big deal, making Akito's face turn. That smile is straight up deadly, and he's wondering if he can learn to use it too. Nah, she's actually marrying a prince, so Akito better watch himself while he awkwardly clears his throat as Olivia grills him about his skills. He hasn't used a single skill point yet, and Olivia totally gets why he's waiting. Where you spend your points literally changes your whole life, so he has to be super careful since he only gets them when he levels up. Akito was totally confused because his natural talent was supposed to give him 4 points every single day. Is this some kind of crazy cheat code? It's time to go hunt for anyone else who made it out alive. Akito nods and follows Olivia, but on the low, he starts. They spent a ton of time scouring every inch of those woods. They ended up right back where they started without finding a single soul. And even though Olivia's desperate to track them down today, she feels like she's literally melting in the sun. Even her drill looks totally bummed out, so he quickly checks his status screen and tells her he's got the water situation covered. Olivia thinks he's using water magic, but she's totally wrong, and then he remembers seeing something earlier. Yep, there it is. A massive 20-liter plastic tank totally filled with fresh drinking water. Check out what this camper can do. One twist of the handle and water comes pouring right out. The second Olivia's drills hit the water, they roared right back to life. Wait, doesn't he even have a glass or a cup? Akito totally flinched. She's totally right since she's a noble, but blowing his points now is a bad call, especially with their food situation looking rough. He apologized for not having a cup and told her to just drink straight from it, making Olivia blush as she agreed to try it for the first time, turning the handle to take a sip. She almost choked to death right then and there, so Akito rushed over to make sure she was okay. She's so embarrassed she can't even look at him, thinking her chances of getting married are totally dead. But Akito tells her not to sweat it because he'll forget the whole thing by tomorrow anyway. He gulped down some water and realized he totally did her dirty by not giving her a Sierra cup, since those are awesome for cooking right over an open fire. She's totally shocked to see someone with dimensional storage, but get this, Akito actually just traded points for it, so he's still nowhere near mastering the real skill yet. Olivia explains that having dimensional storage is a 1 in 30,000 rarity, and Akito is totally losing his mind over how insane that is. Then he tells her that the camp item exchange isn't just for water. He can trade for food and all kinds of gear, but it costs points, so he can't just go on a crazy shopping spree. He stopped right there when he saw Olivia frozen like a statue, wondering what was going on with her. Olivia jumped in right away, shouting about how totally insane his power was. Akito's eyes popped wide open in total shock. It had been forever since anyone hyped him up this much. He just couldn't stop himself from grinning. He was stuck in a... Suddenly he's totally pumped, clenching his fist and asking her to team up so they can beat this crazy situation together. Olivia was totally stoked and asked to be friends, so Akito smiled and told her she could finally stop being so formal and just use his name. They shook hands, and just like that, their new friendship was officially born. The sun's already dipping low, so they're gonna have to set up camp right here for the night. Akito figured Olivia would be terrified of sleeping outside since she's a total princess, so he offered to build a campfire to calm her down. But he didn't need to worry at all. Akito's shocked she's actually having a blast and suggests grabbing the branches first, but Olivia tells him to just step back and let her handle it. He bolted straight into the forest, looking super hyped. A little while later, she shows up carrying a massive tree trunk on her shoulders, and Akito just stares at her in total shock. That thing was massive, and I have no idea how she even lifted it with those skinny arms. They really need to make those shorter, or they're gonna be a total pain to burn. So Olivia just shredded them into tiny slices using nothing but her bare hands. Akito just stood there, completely frozen and totally stunned. Olivia casually tells him the Holy Warrior's starting skill is a literal hand blade. And man, Drill Lady is a total beast. Are all the noble girls here this cracked? But let's be real, he's definitely not complaining. Akito was just about to move when a huge crash went off right behind him. He spots a monster growling right in his face, and it turns out to be a nasty devil rat. Olivia steps up and warns him to stay sharp, because even a bite from a weak monster will make his wound rot. She lifts up a branch and starts chanting while glowing lights swirl all around her. Akito stared at her in total shock, wondering what kind of crazy magic he was even looking at. His thoughts were cut short when Olivia suddenly whacked the devil rat with her branch. He was totally sure it was a physical attack. Olivia turns and bows to apologize, leaving Akito totally lost since she just saved them. But she's actually bummed because she used weapon enhancement and totally trashed those nice branches. They totally shattered because she wasn't skilled enough. But Akito told her it was cool since the broken pieces would make perfect firewood. They've got to grab some tiny twigs and dry grass first to make sure the fire actually catches. Olivia was stoked to hear that, thinking a camper like him was way cooler than a clueless holy warrior like her. But Akito totally disagreed because he thought holy warriors were actually absolute legends. I can't believe monsters are actually real. This place is definitely a world of swords and magic. He's got to find a weapon and he needs it fast. But how are they going to start a fire? He's only got 3 points left, but they're desperate, so Akito starts digging through his bag. He whipped out a cheap 100 yen lighter that only cost him 1 point, leaving him with just 2 points left. He explains that this gadget is called a lighter, and it can literally create fire in an instant. He told Olivia to get back to work and keep slicing up those branches just like she did before. And she was totally down to go along with it. They finally managed to get a fire going. They grabbed hands in total hype because they actually pulled it off, and Akito couldn't believe things went this perfectly. Man, that win felt absolutely amazing. But the good vibes died fast when Olivia pulled away, reminding him she's set to marry Prince Nisal. So Akito quickly backed off and apologized for getting way too emotional. Why is he even getting all worked up like that? With the sun finally setting, he pops open his status screen to check his stats. Before they regroup, he wants one more safety net since they're starving and just sitting around is a total death trap. So he decides to boil water because the steam actually scares monsters off way better than a regular campfire. He was just standing there smiling at her when she suddenly shouted his name. She tells him she had an absolute blast and it's all thanks to him. Today was absolutely wild, filled with crazy stuff you'd never see happening in modern Japan. But there's one thing we know for real. He was actually having a total blast with it too. He's got absolutely no clue what's about to go down tomorrow. But he's throwing up a massive shield to keep the whole base safe. He's using the awesome power of his base camp skill. He's gonna set up camp right here since Akito just got warped into a totally different world. Since he's using this camper skill anyway, he's gonna make sure he has a total blast with it. First thing tomorrow, they're heading out to find some food right away. But can they actually survive until sunrise with all those monsters hiding in the dark? Akito's stomach starts growling like crazy while he's chilling by the fire, and it's no wonder he's starving since he's been running around for 30 sou. Man, he needs a point just to use the food gacha, so the second he gets some tomorrow, he's gotta fix this food situation fast because Olivia is definitely starving. He snuck a look at her and saw she was looking super nervous. She was getting really nervous watching the bonfire shrink and the magic circle lose its glow, knowing that if the fire went out for good, it's gonna be totally pitch black, right? He saw her looking totally miserable and shaking like a leaf, making him wonder if she was actually terrified of the dark. Honestly, that tracks, because this forest is super spooky and anyone would be. Akito tells her not to sweat it because they're just gonna make the fire way bigger together. When the fire starts dying down, he shows her how to bring it back with some twigs and air, then lets her take over by tossing in some branches. She didn't waste a second putting them in and was totally blown away by the result. Since she's a pro camper, the fire really started roaring, and now she's wondering if they can make it even more massive. She needs to toss on even more branches, and man, that fire is getting huge, but Akito's just happy to see her having a total blast. Seeing her finally smile, he kept the fire going until she drifted off, and since she looked way better, he told her it was time to get some rest. The whole vibe shifted the second Olivia turned to him with a dead serious look on her face. She's Prince Nasal's future bride, and since things are getting dangerous, she's sleeping right next to him tonight, ready to blast anyone with her hyper aura slash if they try anything. Akito freaked out and scrambled back, but he couldn't help thinking she was super cute, and it'd actually be pretty awesome to have her as a girlfriend. But seriously, He's not thinking anything gross right now, and he's desperate for her to just believe him. Olivia finally drops that branch she was using as a sword and says sorry for doubting him, calling herself a total jerk, but Akito just waves his hands and tells her it's no big deal. She finally breathes a sigh of relief because he's such a great guy, and man, she is just way too adorable. But he's starting to feel super guilty for some reason. They both piled up some grass and just chilled out on it. Akito heard Olivia trying to hide her laughs and looked at her totally confused, asking what was so funny, but she just said the whole situation felt super weird. She's skipping dinner and her shower for the night, feeling like a total delinquent, and she's absolutely loving the thrill. She's literally never had a night this wide open in her entire life. Tonight, she's even going to be the one leading the prayers. Akito totally agreed with her, especially since it had been way too long since he'd had a night this chill and free from all the pressure. He looked up at the sky and was totally blown away by what he saw. The night sky looked absolutely incredible. He gets this whole epic view all to himself, and man, it's a total flex. Akito was the first one to snap awake. He stretched his arms with a huge grin, loving that fresh camping air. But he had to check his points first, so he swiped open his status screen. He was hyped to see his points jump up by 4. He's gonna save those skill points for now, check the water tank next, and then hit the food gacha once Olivia finally wakes up. He walked right up to the tank and was totally shocked to see it was already filled to the brim. Meanwhile, Olivia finally wakes up and starts rubbing her eyes. Akito said hey, but his face was totally on fire since she didn't have those messy drill curls for once. Olivia gets super flustered and tells him to quit looking because she's not ready, so Akito panics, turns away, and starts apologizing like crazy. He went back to checking his stats and told Olivia the water tank was full, so they could finally eat breakfast once she was ready. He just snagged the base camp's blessing, so maybe he's about to unlock those camp meals next. Once he snags this, he'll be able to eat all sorts of awesome camping meals. 3 points isn't enough yet, so he's gonna hold off and go look for some food since he didn't find anything to eat yesterday. Olivia tells him straight up that her drills are back in the game and man, she looks totally graceful and awesome. Suddenly, her stomach lets out a huge growl, and she turns around blushing like crazy, lying that she's just thirsty. Yeah, right. And since Akito is also starving, he's betting it all on a meal he can eat right now, so he pulls up his status and rolls the food gacha. He's crossing his fingers that he doesn't get stuck with something he actually has to cook. Ta-da! A lunchbox pops out for just 1 point, so you better try your luck on the gacha again. They finally popped open the lunchbox to see what was inside, and spots 2 rice balls from the convenience store. Being from Japan, Akito thought that meal looked straight up delicious. Olivia thinks the whole thing looks super sus, but she's so starving that she'd eat literally anything right now. They don't have any forks or knives, so Olivia is about to just chomp down on the wrapped rice ball until Akito panics, grabs it, and shows her how to actually unwrap it before giving it back. It tasted straight up incredible. Akito finally gets a real meal after forever, and that crunchy seaweed is straight up delicious. He catches Olivia loving every bite, and is just glad she's vibing with the tuna mayo too. He finishes the rice ball and gives a quick thanks, but he's still starving, and since his points are running low, he can't afford to buy another one. And honestly, it looks like Olivia was totally into them too. Alright, it's time for them to get moving and finally kick off their day. First, they're gonna light a massive signal fire right on the shore. If a ship sails past, they're totally gonna get spotted. Next, they're heading deep inland to track down food, water, and other survivors, even though their tank is still loaded with water for now. There's nowhere near enough water for them to get clean, and while Olivia's never actually done laundry before, she knows it takes a ton of water to get the job done. A river is the perfect spot because Akito hasn't showered in 2 days and is dying to clean up. So he gives himself a quick sniff and really hopes he doesn't stink yet. They headed back into the forest to finish their mission for the day. Today's path is way tougher than yesterday's, and while Akito looks for something sharp to clear the way, Olivia steps up from behind and tells him she's got this covered. Just like that, she completely wrecked everything in her path using nothing but her bare hands. She's seriously incredible, and Olivia just beamed, clearly loving the praise. They decided to keep moving and pushed even deeper in, but they still found absolutely nothing, so Akita asked Olivia if she could hear water, or literally any kind of noise. Turns out she totally can because she just supercharged her hearing. That's how she finally caught the sound of a stream flowing nearby. But when they finally showed up, all they found was this tiny, pathetic little river. Olivia hides her face in total embarrassment, but Akito tries to cheer her up by saying they've still got a long way to go, and another river could be right around the corner. They've got to follow the river to check things out, even though the ground is super sketchy and the plants are getting way too thick. This deep forest is super spooky, and feels like something is about to jump out, so even though yesterday's monsters were easy to beat, they really need to watch their backs right now. He warned Olivia to stay on high alert since they had no clue what was lurking nearby, and she totally agreed. They kept pushing forward until they stumbled right into a clearing full of tree stumps. These were definitely chopped down by some kind of tool, and when Akito looked over at the river, he saw a fallen tree totally blocking the water. Olivia shouted over to Akito, letting him know she found a huge clearing right behind the bushes. They found a bunch of tiny little houses surrounded by these massive mushrooms. They look like straight-up fairy houses, way too tiny for any normal person to fit inside. This place might actually be a gnome's house, and while Olivia's just hyped to see if her book stories are real, Akita is totally on edge, wondering if whoever lives here is the one who chopped down that stump. If that's the case, he seriously needs to watch his back. Right then, the door to the tiny house swung wide open. Suddenly, a cat strolls out, but get this, it's actually walking on 2 legs. The cat totally freaked out and screamed when something popped out. But hold up, isn't that supposed to be Akito's line? Wait, what am I even looking at? Is that cat seriously talking? What is this thing, some kind of monster? It's literally standing on 2 legs. It looks just like a cat, but is it actually one? The cat starts yelling because it thinks they're rare monsters. But wait, that's Akito's line, so... Suddenly, another cat pops up from behind and tells Tama to chill, explaining that these aren't rare beasts, they're actually just humans. Akito was totally stunned as more of them showed up, but the craziest part was that they were actually talking. Since they can actually talk to it, he decides to play nice and gives a big smile to show they're totally human. Thomas is literally squealing with joy because he never goes on trade runs, and seeing a human for the first time has him totally blown away by how smooth their faces are. Akito asks what he means by trade, so the cat explains they swap stones for food whenever a human ship stops by every 2 months. Akito and Olivia stare at each other in total shock, realizing this place isn't actually cut off from the rest of the world. If a ship shows up, they might get to hop on, and Olivia's totally down since they could finally reach the capital kingdom. The cat asks if they're here to trade, and Tama gets super hyped because human food is seriously the best thing ever. Akito told them that wasn't it, claiming their ship wrecked and they just drifted there, which was kind of a lie, but the 2 cats totally fell for it and felt super bad for them. Akito was so relieved these cats were actually chill and might have some answers, so he asked where they were and found out it's Marvel Island. And even though the Avengers aren't around, meet Bucci and Tama from the Minion tribe, who live on Marvel Island, a total hotspot for sacred beasts just like them. Akito was totally shocked to find out they were both sacred beasts. But it turns out that on this island, basically anything that talks is one of them. Akita asked if there were any other people around, but Bucci told him they were totally alone since the ship left days ago, and no one else has washed up since. Akito thanks them for the heads up, but since the ship won't be back for a while, he's gonna have to use every survival trick he knows to keep him and Olivia alive. He's asking where to find food, so Bucci explains they usually trade for it by fishing, picking fruit, or hunting. Plus they can even swap glowing cave stones with humans for a meal. Akita thought those stones were just fancy jewels, but they're actually magic ores, and you can even find super rare ingredients hidden in those caves. They have to be super careful because even though it's chill outside, the caves are crawling with scary monsters, so they're better off sticking to the fruit trees while Bucci shows them the way. The cats pointed out exactly where to go so they could just grab the food and eat, and Akito made sure to thank them for the help. He gave a quick wave and headed out, but man, he was a total lifesaver. The duo headed deep into the forest, following the cat's lead just like they were told. Akito was stoked to finally have a partner to talk to, especially since they made the journey way easier and taught them all the best spots to find food and hunt. Plus, it's awesome they found that waterfall spot, and Olivia couldn't stop smiling while thinking about those 2 super fluffy round cats. She's dying to give them a hug, but then she tries to play it off by saying they're just super nice and a total blessing. Yeah, let's just pretend her secret. The huge problem is the ship just left, so it won't be back for a long time. Olivia has to find a way to get on that boat safely. If she doesn't make... Wait, wasn't it just a freak accident at sea during a storm? Akito figured everyone would totally get that. But high society is never that simple. Prince Nisal might even think she couldn't let a massive misunderstanding like that slide, and Akito could tell just by looking at her that she wasn't hyped about this marriage at all. But after walking for... And just like that, they found the blue waterfalls Bucci told them about. This place is seriously gorgeous, and now that they can finally hit the bath, Olivia is totally freaking out and turning bright red. Wait, is he seriously saying they're bathing right here in the sun? That is totally wild. Akito admits that washing up outside is super awkward, but he knows they have to stay clean to avoid getting sick, and Olivia totally gets where he's coming from. She totally trusts him, But Akito was still a stuttering mess, promising he wouldn't try anything since she's literally engaged to Prince Nisal. Olivia glared at him, warning that if he saw her naked, she'd bite her tongue and end it all, which sent a shiver down Akito's spine because that's straight. Olivia turned away all shy, saying her mom warned her about guys, so Akito saluted and swore he wouldn't sneak a peek. Wait, hold on, he's actually got something crazy, and he just opened up his status screen. He grabbed a hygiene kit with 2 towels, 2 toothbrushes, and 2 razors, spending 1 point and leaving him with just 2 points left. He handed the items to Olivia, and she was totally blown away, wondering if his camper class let him get his hands on literally anything. Nah, it's actually just camping gear, so he's gonna chill behind that big rock and wait for her to call him when she's done, which Olivia is totally cool with. She ditched her clothes and started walking deeper into the water. She stood right in front of the massive waterfall, totally blown away that she was actually about to bathe out in the open. This felt so good, and as Akito sat behind a rock, he caught Olivia humming a quiet tune. Sweet, she's actually enjoying her bath, but he starts cracking up picturing her naked with those drill hairs, though he knows he's dead meat if she catches him because she'd totally whack him with a branch. He's just messing around for real, and he's still thinking totally straight. Olivia finally comes over, apologizes for the wait, and tells him he can go ahead and take his bath. While he's busy in the bath, she gets herself ready and heads straight out to start the hunt. He was so shook seeing her with her hair down that he didn't even hear a single word she said. It finally clicked, and he whipped around to ask what she really meant by hunting. She can't just hide behind him forever, so now that she's finally feeling strong, she's stepping up to take charge herself. Akita told her she didn't need to feel that way because she's actually helped him out a ton too. Olivia shut that down fast because she's dead set on having grilled meat tonight. And since she thinks hunting is a total ladylike skill, she's taking over the hunt herself. Akito realized he was totally stuck, so he let her take over while he went to wash up and grab some firewood, and Olivia just gave him a wave as he headed out. Right after that, Akito dived straight into the water to get cleaned up. He leaned back against the rocks, finally feeling totally recharged. Suddenly, the trees started rustling and he totally lost it, wondering if it was a monster or just an animal. But then it hit him. He was completely naked and totally screwed if something actually attacked. Buchi and Tama said monsters are rare outside of caves, but he's not taking any chances, so he taps his status screen to finally get himself a weapon. He's only got 2 points, which is just enough for a tiny knife that wouldn't stand a chance against those devil rats. And since an axe or machete costs 5, he whipped around when the bushes rustled again, but he finally caught a glimpse of a squirrel's back and realized it was just an animal, which was a total relief. If Olivia strikes out on the hunt, he's gonna have to gamble just to eat, so food is the big goal. But first, he's gotta tackle the laundry, and there's no way a fancy noble like Olivia has ever done that before. Akito stopped dead when her words hit him again, and even though he didn't get the whole noble thing, he knew her family was a total burden for her. As he gets dressed, he realizes he'd be totally lost without Olivia's help, so he's gonna do everything he can to make her feel better until that ship finally shows up. But what about this guy? Does he even want to go back? And how would he even find a way home? For now, he just needs to focus on what's right in front of him and head straight for those fruit trees Toma mentioned. He's got to grab food and wood before the sun goes down, so Akito hustles into the forest following Tama's lead. They finally hit a clearing where a massive tree was standing tall. These mangoes look straight up delicious, but the real problem is figuring out how to get them down. There's just no way anyone is climbing that. Maybe there's some kind of gear he can use? Right then, someone shouted out and called him a total weakling. He looked back at the tree, wondering if it really just talked smack to him, or if he was just losing his mind. But that voice just started roasting him all over again. This bird was just staring down at him with the most smug look on its face. Hold up, what even is that thing? The bird spread their wings wide and got ready to take off. It let out this mocking sound like it was calling him weak, and man, that noise was so gross. Wait, was that even a cry? The bird warned him to look away or get crushed, even calling him a total weakling. And Akita was just stunned that this bird could talk, and that it had such a trashy mouth. Wait, if this thing can talk, is it actually a sacred beast like Tama? Those birds are totally roasting him for not being able to climb the tree, and they just won't quit with the insults. They even started snacking on mangoes just to get under his skin, and while Akita was totally fuming, he kept his cool and put on a fake smile. He figured he'd try being, if Aikido keeps being this polite, maybe it'll actually share. So he told them he's got nothing right now but promised to pay them back for sure. That bird just smirked and said he'd only think about it if he begged like crazy. Man, what a total jerk. He said he'd think about it, not that he'd actually do it. So is he just gonna flake out later? The best way to handle a guy like this is to totally ignore. The bird got totally triggered by Akito's attitude and asked if he even wanted to eat, but Akito just ignored him and said he didn't need it. The bird called him a total bore and said they were actually going to give him the food, so now he can just go ahead and starve. They finally flew off, but not before throwing one last insult his way, leaving him totally drained. Akito turns back to the tree, staring at that mango and trying to figure out his next move. He's right back at the start again. He could play it safe and roll the food ja. Suddenly Bucci shows up asking what's wrong, and even though he's probably just there for the mango, he looks totally exhausted. Akito scratched his head and explained that some trash-talking bird started beef with him while he was trying to get the fruit, and since it's from the Albit tribe, Bucci says He asks Akito if humans are just unable to climb trees, but Akito says they actually can. He's just really trash at it, so I guess it is what it is. Bucci's gonna snag it for him, and Akito is totally hyped, cheering for their awesome little buddy. He hopped back down with a massive haul of 24 mangoes. Akito thanks Bucci and promises to pay him back, but Bucci just laughs and says he's craving some mutton clams right this second. These long beach clams are super rare and hard to find, but it sounds like he's talking about razor clams, so if Akito just uses some salt, he might actually pull this off. He swore he'd bring them to Bucci if he pulled it off, and while Bucci said he'd be waiting, he wasn't exactly counting on it. Akito bundled the mangoes in his jacket and headed straight for the ocean to pay back what he owed. He made his way down the beach, right along the edge of the water. He looks down and spots a mat in a clam hole. He remembered seeing on TV that pouring salt into these holes makes the mountain clam pop right out, so now he just needs to find some salt. He's got 2 points left to buy 2 kilos of salt, but blowing it all right now feels like a total waste. So he just grabs a pot and heads out. Now he can finally turn that seawater into actual salt! He builds a stone stove and gets a fire going, figuring that boiling down 2 liters of seawater should give him 60 grams of salt, but the flames are just way too weak. He gave it a tiny puff, but the smoke went everywhere and started stinging his eyes. He rubbed his watering eyes, really wanting that fire-breathing pipe for 1 point, because he knows Olivia would totally love it since she's obsessed with bonfires. He figures he should just toss on some more wood for now, but when he reaches for a log, he realizes he's almost completely out, which is bad news because that's salt still. If he keeps this up, he's never gonna make that salt. He's totally failing today, and since he didn't see that coming from Bucci, the shock is finally starting to. But he still wants to pay them back and totally blow their minds, so let's get into it. He's keeping the fire alive by sprinting back and forth to the woods for more logs, and he's totally got this handled. He's 100% gonna finish this right now! Before long, the salt finally started to get super thick. It might burn for a second, but once it dries, it's ready to go. And honestly, even this tiny bit should be more than enough. It'd be way better if he could clean out the junk, but this works for now. So he takes a quick taste and, yep, it's salty as heck. He slumped to the ground totally wiped out, but he was hyped that he finally built something with his own 2 hands. Chilling out with this view is honestly the best, and since the sun is setting, Olivia should be back any second, while he'll deal with Matt and clams tomorrow. He finally made it back to camp, but Olivia looked totally different. She was basically just skin and bones after being gone for so long. But check this out, the drills are finally out! Oh man, not the drill. He walked right up and asked her what was wrong. She dropped to her knees, apologizing for totally failing the hunt. Akito told her it was all good, and she didn't need to say sorry. But Olivia just hid her face, feeling... She followed some deer tracks into the woods, but she was actually hunting a legendary sacred beast. She couldn't exactly take down a sacred beast, so Akito told her not to feel bad, especially since he had a total game-changer ready to go. He's got the mangoes that Bucci picked out just for him. He hands her the fruit and says there are 12 total, so they'll each get 5 and save 1 for tomorrow morning since they're perfectly ripe. You can literally just peel it off with your bare hands. She clearly had no clue what she was doing, so he showed her the ropes and then took a huge bite of the mango. It tasted straight up incredible, and he'd seriously never had a mango this good in his entire life. He saw Olivia totally zoning out and told her to quit daydreaming and just start eating. She gave it a shot and was honestly blown away by how good it actually was. She's honestly so thankful for him. Akito looked over at Olivia and saw she was still totally drained and feeling down. He's dying to cheer her up. But what's he supposed? Tomorrow he's gonna grab a ton of matin clams just to make her feel better. Right then the sky just opened up and it started pouring like crazy. The rain starts stinging Akito's skin as a sudden storm hits, and he's in big trouble because the campfire is about to go out. He tossed his jacket over Olivia and started pulling out something to shield them from the pouring rain. He pulls up his status screen to find that 1-point item he remembered, and boom, there it is. They grab a blue tarp, and now they've got exactly what they need to survive the rain. He was just starting to build it when the fire suddenly died out of nowhere. The sun was already down, and since they didn't have a fire, it was basically pitch black. Akito totally froze when someone hugged him from behind, and he realized it was Olivia, who was shaking like crazy and couldn't even say a word. He got super worried and asked her what was going on. Wait, what is even happening right now? This whole situation is just insane. Something is seriously off with Olivia. He's really starting to freak out, especially since she's shaking like crazy. Olivia managed to hiss that the darkness was the problem, and Akito was totally shocked by how hard she was spiraling now that the fire was dead. She's clearly scared out of her mind, but he just leads her right inside the tarp. He pulls her into a tight hug and tries his best to make her feel safe. A ton of time has passed, but it just won't quit, and Olivia is still shaking like crazy. He's itching to jump in and finally do something to help. He's completely stuck, and even though she's suffering like crazy, he's honestly just being totally useless. Suddenly, he feels this crazy power surging inside him, and he realizes he just leveled up with new points because the day finally reset. His level up points just got a massive boost, so he gives Olivia a quick shout to let her know everything is totally under control. Now they've got a sick lantern that charges itself with the sun and stays on for 26 hours straight, so even though it cost 2 points, it was totally worth it. Akito apologized for taking forever, but he finally managed to grab a lantern. She doesn't have to stress about it dying out while they sleep, so they can finally get some rest. Olivia finally said yes, even though she was totally tearing up. The next morning rolls around and Akito is the very first one to wake up. He stretches his arms out under the clear blue sky, feeling like today is going to be a total win. Also, once he pulled out that lantern last night, Olivia finally chilled out and drifted right off to sleep. He wonders if she's got some bad history with the dark, but he shakes it off, deciding to wait until Olivia is ready to tell him herself. All he really cares about is making sure Olivia keeps a smile on her face while she's on this island. He's got to make those last 3 points count, but when Akito checks his stats, he spots something crazy. Whenever he levels up, he gets to spin a roulette for 36 points, and since he's camping to farm levels, he can keep that wheel spinning for 2 whole days. He hits start and the wheel starts flying and he's just staring at it, praying for a massive score. And that's time. He just bagged 19 points, bringing his whole score up to 24. So first up, he's looking to snag a brand new skill called camp cooking. With Professional Prepper 2, he's officially a pro cook who can prep whatever Olivia catches, so he's putting the rest of the skill tree on hold for now. He hooks Olivia up with some camping gear and gets a fire going while she's asleep, really hoping this makes her happy enough to forget that total nightmare. Once Akito finally finished getting everything ready, Olivia finally wakes up blushing with her drill hair looking totally sad, apologizes for yesterday, and even pulls him into a hug, but Akito just tells her it's cool and asks if he really thought he could cheer her up, so he went ahead and set up a tent and a tarp. This tarp glows bright once you pump magic into it, so they should put it together now to stay safe and keep the dark away. But first, they've got to grab some breakfast, digging into those leftover mangoes and the food he just pulled from the gacha. He ripped the box open and found out it was just cup soup with the smallest discount ever. Then there's this outdoor cooking set for 3 points, which lets him level up from basic soup to all kinds of real meals. Olivia was totally lost, so Akito just showed her how it's done by ripping open the soup and pouring it into 2 bowls. After pouring in the boiling water, he hands her the bowl and tells her to stir it slowly until it's ready, and Olivia is totally shocked by how amazing it smells. He takes a sip and it's honestly the best thing he's ever tasted. It's super warm and honestly feels so chill. Akito watched her with a huge grin, just stoked that she was actually into it. Olivia's drills are back in action, and she's totally fired up to build the tent, telling Akito she'll handle all the heavy lifting while he just smiles, glad to see her finally acting like her usual self again. They spread the cloth and tie it up exactly like he says, and since Olivia's never done anything like this before, she follows his lead perfectly. This is honestly such a vibe, especially since her maid isn't here to kill the fun or stop her from doing whatever she wants. Being a lady is way more strict than she ever imagined, but once the tent and tarp were finally set up, Olivia was totally blown away. She finally finished building her very first tent, and Akito flashed a big smile before asking her to go climbing with him right then and there. They finally made it down to the beach. Akito shows her the ropes of clamming. You find a hole, pour in some salt, and snatch up whatever pops out. He poured the salt and just like that the clam popped right out. Akito snatches it up in a heartbeat. He actually did it, and since Buchi and the crew love these things, he wants to grab a ton to thank them for the mango. He tells Olivia to give it a shot, and boom, she nails it instantly, catching one and realizing how much fun clamming is as she starts hunting for even more. Akito claps his hands in total shock, thinking she's absolutely incredible. Olivia comes back to break the bad news that they're completely out of salt since Akito couldn't make enough. He checks his pot of clams and realizes that after sharing with Bucci her hands start moving like a total blur, sending sand flying everywhere, and since she's out of salt, she's just gonna snatch them with her bare hands. She's just tossing clam after clam into the pot like a pro. Boom! She actually figured out a totally new way to do it. Akita is just standing there with his jaw on the floor. She helped them snag a massive haul, so now they can totally thank Bucci for that mango. Akito's gotta get them ready for dating, so Olivia heads out to grab Tama and Bucci. While that's going on, Akita uses his pro prepper skills to get them ready, since it usually takes a super long time for them to finally die. But he pulled it off in just 1 minute, and man, his skills are absolutely insane. He whipped his head around when Tom shouted from behind, asking if it was for real that they'd get to pig out on Mantan clams. He shows off 2 huge pots of clams and says it's time to cook. But when Tom calls him a legend, Akito admits Olivia was the one who actually caught almost all of them. Toma rushes over to hype Olivia up, while Bucci thanks Akito for the invite, and hands him some butter so he can finally cook up those butter-grilled dishes he's been. Then he asks Olivia to stir-fry the clams, and she totally flinches in shock. She's a total disaster in the kitchen, but Akito promises it's okay since stir-frying is super easy. Olivia nervously grabbed the pan, but she was so freaked out that she kept looking back at Akito for help, and he just stayed super chill and reassured her. He told her it was time for the butter, so a stressed-out Olivia grabbed it and asked if she should just chuck it in. But Akito told her to chill out and just put. The Mantan clam butter stir-fry is finally finished, and Akito starts passing out the bowls to everyone. The 2 cats gobbled it all up and loved every bite, giving that meal a straight-up 10 out of 10. Tama turned to Olivia and thanked her for the killer meal. Akito told her she'd better give it a taste before it got totally cold. She took 1 bite and immediately started bawling her eyes out. Akito looked totally shocked and asked if she was okay, but Olivia just wiped her eyes, apologized, and said she was doing just fine. She's totally blown away because she's never cooked for herself before and it's actually delicious. So Akito tells her to forget her royal title and just live her best life while he's the only human here anyway, and he promised to keep his mouth shut. Olivia asked if she could finally cook and clean for herself, eat until she was stuffed, and just laugh whenever she wanted, and Akito totally agreed to all of it. But he promises her that she's finally free to live her life however she wants. He's totally got their back if things go wrong, so now they can go all out and try whatever they want. Olivia smiled through her tears as she thanked him, honestly just so glad he was finally there. Akito just grinned back and told him the feeling was 100% mutual. She finally cracked a smile, and honestly you love to see it. Tama and Bucci saw Olivia crying and immediately put all the blame on Akito. Olivia explained she was just super emotional over how good her own cooking tasted, and the 2 of them finally chilled out. He begged her to make it again, and Olivia was totally down, knowing she'd have to practice like crazy to make it taste amazing. Akito watched her with a grin, relieved to see that Olivia was finally doing okay. He's totally stoked, while the cats are already holding out their bowls for round 2, just lurking in the distance and watching their every move. There's a sea lion just chilling on a rock right by the shore. The next morning, Akito woke up to some seriously perfect weather. Yesterday was a total blast, and that feast of meat and clams they all shared was seriously delicious. To start the day off right, he decides it's time to check his points. Including what he saved from yesterday, he's now sitting on 9 points total. He figures. He's struggling to pick the perfect item to master, but right then, Olivia sneaks up behind him to say hello. She's got a kettle ready, boils some water, and offers him a cup, so Akito says hi and is totally down to take. They're sitting across from each other, and Olivia asks what's wrong since he looks super worried. He's actually just stressing over which combat skill to learn next. He can't, Olivia's already a pro with the sword, so she told him he should stick to using a massive battle axe. It totally makes sense. Akito figures that pairing the machete and axe to cover each other's weaknesses is definitely his best move. Akito stands up and asks Olivia to grab some breakfast, deciding to wait on picking his skills for now. He's only got bananas to eat, but those definitely aren't enough to keep. Alright, it's time for the food gacha, and this time he actually scored some potatoes. Olivia offered to cook and asked for a lesson, so Akito told her to wash and chop some potatoes into quarters, and she flexed her tiny arms and told him She scrubbed those potatoes until they shined, ripped them into 4 pieces with her bare hands, and tossed them straight into the boiling pot. To finish it off, Akito tossed in a bit of their salt and that butter they scored from Bucci. And man, it tasted absolutely insane. Akito finished his food and patted his stomach, feeling totally satisfied, but he was still low-key craving some meat or fish. Olivia tells him to just leave everything to her. She's 100% sure she's going to nail it today. Her big plan is to whip up an awesome meat. Akito's heading out to catch some fish just like Olivia, because his main mission today is to finally snag some food. He headed straight for the ocean and got ready for action. They even tried to snag some crabs and little fish. The real problem is whether these are even safe to eat, and man, he really needs that edibility check skill right about now. He was dying for an immunity boost when suddenly, he heard a loud splash coming from right behind him. He spins around and spots a sea lion. But wait, it's wearing clothes. Could this thing actually be a sacred beast? He's debating if he should even say anything. But what if this thing is a total jerk like those birds he met earlier? Nah, that personality was definitely a weird glitch, so Akito called out to the sea lion, hoping for a better reaction this time. But it just totally ignores him, and right when he thinks he scared it off, a tiny voice asks what he wants, so I guess it's actually gonna listen. Akito gives a quick bow and introduces himself as Akito Machida, a human who just washed up on Marvel Island, and he immediately asks if those little fish and crabs in the tide pools are actually okay to eat. You can eat them, but they taste like trash, and Akito was totally stunned by how mean that voice sounded. Akito is honestly just hyped to have anything edible, so when the sea lion asks if he's actually gonna eat that stuff, Akito admits he's been starving and needs all the food he can get, leaving the sea lion just staring at him like he's crazy. Before diving in, Akito figured the creature just hated humans, so he went to catch some small fish and crabs to win it over. It was actually super hard because they're just so tiny. 10 minutes later, he finally managed to snag one. It's just a tiny fish and it's taking way too long, but he's still super hyped about it. He's gonna need a fishing rod for this. But then the sea lion suddenly pops back up, tells him to grab the fish it left on the rock, and just swims away. Check out these horse mackerel and that sea bass. They look like some seriously top-tier catches. He spots a scallop shell floating in the water and realizes it's the same one the sea lion was wearing, meaning that sacred beast must have been the voice he heard, and the one who gave him this. Just as the shell vanished and the ocean started pulling away, Akito took his chance to scream out a huge thank you. I really hope that stung, and wow, it actually went through the trouble of bringing these over. How sweet. He really wants to say thanks but doesn't want to be a total pest, and since this fish is literally as fresh as it gets, he's heading out to share it right now. He headed over to check on the cats while Bucci tagged along, asking if he needed anything. Tama caught a whiff of the fish and got super hyped, so Akito showed it off and told them he was there to share, making both of them totally thrilled. Bucci was totally convinced this guy was some kind of fishing pro. Akito just rubbed his head and admitted that someone actually gave him the fish. He's pretty sure it was some... Bucci recognized it right away and told him it was definitely a member of the Ashokan tribe. He said if they're wearing a scallop shell, it means they're still just a half-ser. Akito was dying to know what kind of sacred beasts the Ashokan really were, and if they totally hated humans. Bucci explains that the Ashokan are a tribe totally torn apart by their own mixed-up feelings. Ashokan are actually super sweet but totally shy, so even though they're dying to make friends, they're just really awkward at talking. They're obsessed with grilled fish but totally terrified of fire, and Akito realized these guys are just one big confusing contradiction. Bucci even said that even though their bodies look like they'd never get stiff shoulders, they actually deal with them anyway. That's exactly why he's gotta play nice with the Ashokan. Akito agreed and jumped right into the cooking, since he'd already used magic on the fish and had to finish before it went bad. He's gonna grill the horse mackerel-looking fish with salt, turn the sea bass one into a soup, and Bucci even hooked him up with some onions. Olivia finally showed up looking totally crushed after her hunt failed, but she perked right up when Akito told her they were having grilled fish. He didn't catch these himself, but they're chatting while they eat because nothing beats food straight off the grill. Once Akito explained everything, he said he wanted to give the Ashokan a proper thank you, but it had already vanished. He had no idea they were such a sensitive race, so he probably totally spooked them just by speaking up. Olivia tells him not to sweat it, promising that since it's him, they're totally going to hit it off. Man, Olivia is seriously the sweetest person ever. Akito looked away, thanked her, and said he'd try heading back to the sea this afternoon. He's stoked they're finally chill, but he knows getting any closer is a huge risk. The second that next ship shows up, Olivia is out of here. Saying goodbye is going to be absolutely brutal. And that day they have to say goodbye is right around the corner. Olivia suddenly hops up, thanks him for the fish, and they say their goodbyes while promising to meet up again later. He's got to stop being so gloomy and just focus on staying alive. So when Akito spots the leftover grilled fish, he remembers Bucci saying the Ashokan loves it, and heads straight. He finally made it, and felt a huge wave of relief when he saw the Ashokan standing right there by the rock. He crept up slowly, trying not to freak it out, but the second he said hello, the Ashokan totally flinched. It tried to bolt for the ocean, but Akito caught it just in time and explained he actually brought some grilled fish to say thanks. Oops, he totally yelled too loud. He quickly covered his mouth and bowed to apologize for scaring it, but he really wants it to try this grilled fish while it's still fresh and hot. Akita saw it turn away and worried it hated the fish, but he felt a huge weight off his shoulders when Oshikin said that wasn't the case at all. He sets the food down for them to try. Since it tasted so fire, he was actually grateful, and the Ashikans immediately start sniffing the fish. He just snatches it and walks away. Akito introduces himself and asks for a name, and after a long silence, the Ashikon finally reveals he's called Toby. Akito flashed a big smile, totally stoked that he finally shared his name, while Toby just gave him a chill nod back, and he just started chowing down on that fish. Toby still won't look him in the eye, but Akito is just happy because this awesome sacred beast totally saved him when he was in big trouble. So he's gonna give it everything he's got to pay Toby back for being so awesome. Out of nowhere, a massive shark starts swimming right at them. He leaped into the air and totally soaked them with a massive splash. Toby jumped right in the way to shield Aikido. He ended up with seaweed stuck on his head, and when Akito asked if he was okay, Toby told him he was totally fine. He gave himself a quick shake to get all that seaweed off. Then he just slapped his scallop shell right back into place. The two sharks just laughed in their faces, slapping their fins against the water to mock them. Is it just me, or are they smiling in such a creepy way that Toby's convinced they're actually laughing? He told Akito to back up because it was getting dangerous, warning him that those sharks are total pranksters, but Akito just wanted to know why. Toby owned up to it, saying it was his bad for being a total rookie who wasn't fully trained yet. Out of nowhere, he leaps straight into the ocean while Akito screams his name in total panic. He's stressing over whether Toby is actually okay, thinking he might not even show up today. After everything that went down, he really wanted to thank Toby for having his back. Those words from earlier are really messing with Akito's head, and he looks totally crushed. Akito decides to hang back for a bit, but he's thinking about moving since this ocean world is full of crazy stuff, and he really wants to back Toby up. While all that's going down, Toby is just out there swimming in the ocean. And those sharks were right on their tail! Just as the sharks finally caught up to him, his mind flashed straight to Akito. Akito keeps looking around, but Toby is still missing, until he spots a mysterious figure by the cliff and wonders if it's finally him. He gets a closer look and realizes it's not a guy at all, but a total monster. This is a total disaster because Olivia is nowhere to be found. He couldn't pick a weapon because he was so indecisive, so now he's literally just standing there with a bowl. Things are looking rough as the beast lunges at him, and even though Akito blocks and dives away, he still ends up falling flat on his back. Olivia promised the monster was a total weakling, but she was dead wrong. Just catching a glimpse of those sharp fangs. There is absolutely no way that's actually true. He scrambles to his feet and bolts, but this monster just won't quit and it's gaining on him fast. Akito needs a weapon that actually packs a punch, so he pulls up his status screen. Right as the monster was about to pounce on him, he decided to go with the axe as his weapon of choice, and slammed it right into the monster. Luckily, the monster got totally spooked and bolted out of there. He finally hit the dirt with a massive sigh of relief, knowing he made it out alive even if he couldn't take that thing down. Olivia absolutely crushed that monster without breaking a sweat, and it's honestly wild how she makes it look so easy. He figures he's gotta ask her to spar soon because even with all these skills he still needs to train. But right then, Toby calls out to him from behind. He looked totally bummed as he sank deep into the ocean, but right then, Akito caught sight of that scallop shell. Toby's name popped into his head right away, and since it had to be him, he asked if they could chat for a bit because he really wanted to see him. Toby scrambled up the cliff and immediately checked to see if Akito was doing okay. Akito looks totally shocked since he saw the monster attack go down, but he says he's totally fine and just a bit shaken up, while Toby apologizes for being way too far out in the water to help him in time. Akito didn't see it like that at all. He was actually super glad Toby was looking out for him, but he had to make sure Toby was doing okay after that run-in with the bullies. Toby said he was totally fine and asked what was on his mind, so Akito just told him he wanted to say thanks for having his back against those pranksters earlier. Honestly, he was just so incredibly thankful for everything. Kobe didn't even say a word back, totally ignoring the thank you. He just switched it up and started talking about that grilled fish from earlier. He couldn't stop talking about how amazing it tasted, and was super grateful that Akito shared it with him. A huge smirk spread across Akito's face. He asked Toby if he'd eat more if he kept the food coming, and Toby gave him a big nod. Akito told him he didn't have to answer, but he was dying to know why they bullied him for being a kid, especially since hats are a huge deal to the Ashikan tribe, and they searched the entire ocean just to find one. In the Ashikan tribe, rocking a hat means you're officially a grown-up, but since kids can't swim far enough to find one, they have to wear a scallop shell instead. Wearing that shell means he's still just a kid, and while everyone else already scored a hat, Toby is still totally empty-handed. He outswam every single person there, constantly searching without taking a single break. But he's still just a kid, so you can't really blame people for talking. Akito tells him he's doing his best and shouldn't feel guilty, since those bullies are the real weirdos here. He says Toby is just unlucky but is actually a super. He looked away and called him a weird human, leaving Akito totally confused and asking what he even meant by that. But Toby just went totally silent.
So hats are clearly a huge deal to the Ashikon tribe, but what can Akito even do? Hold on, it looks like he just remembered something.
He quickly asked Toby what kind of hat he wanted, and since straw hats are super popular right now, he picked that one. So Akito just popped open his status window to check his stats. He traded in 1 point to snag a straw hat. If Toby's cool with this, he wants him to take it as a huge thank you. Toby grabbed it and asked if he was for real, and once Akito said yeah, Toby finally took off his scallop shell. He's always rocking that straw hat, and now that he's all grown up, he's officially known as Straw Hat Toby. He pulled the straw hat down to hide his tears and thanked Akito, who was just hyped that he actually liked it. He'd be so stoked if they could just hang out and talk like this again. He's just watching this super sweet moment go down from the background. Look at those two annoying birds. What kind of shady plan are they cooking up now? The next day, Akito was back at the base camp, busy swinging his axe and splitting logs. With that new camping tool skill he got yesterday, he finally knows exactly how to move his muscles to swing his axe like a pro. He's finally got some weapons, so now he's looking for skills like an immunity boost, or a way to tell if his food is actually safe to eat. It's a total win that he ran into those monsters yesterday because he scored some sick skills and still had points to spare, even getting Toby a cool hat. But now his balance is officially sitting. But since the day reset, he finally hit a brand new level. He's finally spinning the wheel, so let's go. Land on those massive points. Olivia sneaks up to say good morning, but she suddenly trips and wipes out right on top of him. Aikido slammed the stop button on the roulette and immediately asked her if she was doing all right. That's when it finally clicks just how close they really are. They both scrambled away from each other as Olivia apologized, but Akita stopped mid-sentence when he saw the roulette wheel had landed on 36 points.
Let's go! He just maxed out his score and walked away with a total of 41 points.
He kept shaking Olivia's hand, thanking her over and over again. He's got a ton of points now, and since he doesn't want to get wrecked by monsters again, he's unlocking every single skill all at once. Next up is this sick multi-purpose knife for skinning, and since he's a processing pro, he definitely needs it. So he grabs the blade and asks Olivia if she wants to check it out. She totally agreed and grabbed it, looking super into the blade. So while she's distracted, he starts thinking about breakfast since he's got points to burn anyway. Today they've got to hit that food gacha twice so they can finally get a real meal. It's a master witch. Talk about hitting the jackpot. And the other one is literally just a massive tub of ice cream. Olivia was super hyped because she's obsessed with sweets. But there was way too much to eat, and it would all just melt if they saved it. So they decided to share the treats with the minion tribe, even though Olivia was worried the whole hall would turn into a sticky mess before they even got there. Akito agreed, thinking it was going to be a total oven outside and wishing Olivia could just use some ice magic to cool things down. Akito told her not to sweat it because he finally got the item he wanted, and now everything's going to be just fine. He scored a 2-point cooler box and a 1-point ice pack, so now keeping his ice cream and fish fresh is going to be way easier. He hands the ice pack to Olivia and asks her to pump it full of magic since she's way more powerful than him. They finally made it to the Minion tribe's village. He says hey to Buchi and Tama, and when Buchi asks about the massive box, Akito explains they have way more delicious food than they can handle, and wanted to share the feast. The second someone mentioned some tasty food, a whole swarm of cats popped out of nowhere. Since there's plenty for everyone, he cracks open the cooler to reveal a mountain of ice cream, but the cats just stare at it like they're not sure if it's actually any good. It's like they've never tasted this before. I guess ice cream just isn't a thing on this island. So Buchi actually went for it. He's shouting about how amazing it is and totally changed his mind about Akito, since everyone thought he was useless before, so he's just glad he actually likes it. Olivia grabbed the ice cream tub and told everyone to get their bowls ready and start lining up. She looks totally stoked, and you can tell it's her first time ever serving a meal like this. Buchi called Akito out for staring at Olivia and told him to hurry up and serve the food. And even though Akito tried to deny it while blushing, everyone knew he was totally busted. So then, every single cat finally got a taste of that ice cream. Is this heaven? Because they've seriously never tasted anything this good in their entire lives. The food is so fire they want it every single day. But Akito explains it was a total fluke he can't repeat, though he still has leftovers, which makes the cats swarm him like he... Everyone's so hyped they want to build him a statue, making Akito turn bright red as he begs them to stop. Especially when he catches Olivia staring at him like she's thinking something totally weird. Seriously, it's no big deal because ice cream is just eggs and milk, and he's pretty sure the shop has a maker for only 5 points, which has Toma drooling as he asks if that's actually for real. They don't have any cows, but goat milk works just as well, and now all they're missing are the eggs.
Akito totally freaks out thinking these are albert eggs, but Bucci swears they'd never eat a sacred beast's egg.
Akito was so relieved thinking there were chickens around, but Bucci shut him down and said they're actually using eggs from a rock. There's this massive bird over 2 meters tall that lives on a rock about 10 kilometers away. Akito wondered how they'd even get eggs from a bird like that. But Bucci's plan was just to steal them, even though getting caught means they're totally dead. Akito was totally shook that they'd go this hard for ice cream, but honestly, it makes perfect sense. Akito was doing his best to get everyone to just chill out. Olivia totally shocks Akito by saying they should hunt the rock bird because it's delicious, and it turns out she's a pro at fighting them since they always steal grain, making the cats. They're keeping the squad small with just Akito, Olivia, Bucci, and Tama to stay under the radar. But Akito looks like he just tapped into some seriously forbidden power, and he's gotta gear up. And while he's got his multi-knife, his axe is still sitting way back at the village entrance. Next, he needs to grab some skills, specifically learning what's actually safe to eat so he doesn't starve on the road. He's got points to spend, so he might as well grab some basic movement magic to help him out if things get sketchy. Bucci says sorry for the holdup, but they're finally good to go, so it's time to get moving. They pushed even deeper into the thick of the forest. Bucci's right there telling Toma he better watch his step. Toma starts complaining that the guy is worrying way too much since he's already super careful. But the second he says that, he triggers a trap and ends up dangling upside down from a tree. Things are looking rough. They need to slice that rope ASAP, but they've got to stay sharp since more traps could be hiding anywhere. Akito had been staying totally quiet this whole time. His eyes went wide as he looked up and told them he'd handle it. And even though Olivia tried to stop him because it was way too risky, he just promised her it was fine since he could see exactly where to cut. He whipped out the processing pro and sliced right through the rope holding Tama. The rope gets sliced and he starts falling straight down. Luckily, Olivia was right there to catch him at the very last second. Tama was literally tearing up while thanking them, and Olivia was totally blown away, asking Akito where he learned those insane sword moves, but he just played it cool and said it was all thanks. Out of nowhere, one of those annoying birds on the branch asks if he's gonna eat them, while the other one just scoffs and calls him straight up trash. He definitely knows that annoying voice, and those guys are already mocking Tama and Bucci, scaring them off by saying they're just gonna get eaten by a human. Thomas starts tearing up and asks if he's actually about to be eaten, but Akito shuts that down real quick, explaining his skill only works on stomachs before yelling at the albert birds to stop talking trash. Bucci tells Akito to just ignore those guys because the path is about to get super steep and rocky, and since they're hitting solid rock soon, there's zero time to mess around. They started scaling the cliff, totally ignoring the birds that were super annoyed with Akito. If he's gonna play it that way, they'll make sure he can't look away by raining down a ton of food from the top of the cliff. He uses his skill to blast them from right underneath. Akito saw the chestnuts, mangoes, and oranges were totally safe to eat, and he snapped at them to stop being so disrespectful to their food. He pulled out his blade and got straight to work carving them up. Those two birds were sweating bullets and wondering what just happened, realizing this guy is way more dangerous than the usual weaklings they deal with. Akito turned toward them and realized they were also on the menu, leaving both of them completely frozen in terror. And he scrambled into the air to get out of there as fast as he could. Akito finally let out a huge sigh of relief, realizing his joke almost went south because those guys were insanely fast. But Bucci and Tama were already hyped up and cheering for how awesome he was. Even Olivia started hyping him up, making Akito laugh all shyly since he never thought his peeling skills would actually be this useful. They were right in the middle of talking when the ground suddenly started to rumble. Could it be an earthquake? They looked up at the cliff and realized that massive rock was actually staring right back at them. Oh crap, it's heading straight back to its nest. The ground started cracking apart as that massive, angry rock slowly headed straight for them. They just stood there, too freaked out to even move a muscle. This thing is absolutely massive and also looks super scary. It's not alone. There are 3 of them now, so they've got to back off and regroup. The rock's eyes locked right onto them. He stopped running and flew straight at them. Tama was freaking out and crying about getting eaten, so Bucci shouted for him to scramble into the cracks between the rocks. Tama rushed inside with the person he saved, making sure that massive rock couldn't even touch them. But then it zooms off to grab Akito and Olivia, and man, this thing is seriously massive. Bucci's hauling tail with Tama and shouts for the crew to head back to the trees, so they all take the leap and follow his lead. They book it back into the forest where the trees keep that rock monster out, but Akito's totally blindsided by all 3 of them, and now they need a plan fast. Without her sword, Olivia can only handle one of these guys at most. But honestly, even that's pretty insane. Bucci knew charging all three at once was a total suicide mission. But if their numbers drop, he'll finally have a chance to snag those eggs. Olivia's gonna step up and snag that meat, but Akito's low-key stressing that leaving two of them alive is way too dangerous, especially since the eggs are the real priority. Bucci's totally in, but they need a plan to distract the guards and swipe that egg. He and Tama know the area and can hide in tiny cracks, but Akito and Olivia are way too big and would get spotted in a second. Oh snap. Akito just remembered that beginner teleportation skill he just picked up, which lets him warp back to camp with one other person, but he definitely can't take the whole. No sweat. They can just leave it to Bucci because he's already got a plan ready to go. Everyone leaned in close while Bucci broke down the whole plan. Right then, the rockbird's stomach started rumbling like crazy. These guys are starving, so one flies away while the other two stay back to guard the nest. Right then, 2 pieces of orange were tossed right behind them. They all reached down and snatched up a piece. Bucci and Tama are ducked behind a rock, and since those guys totally fell for the trap, they're gonna keep chucking oranges to lead them away. They're slowly baiting them away from the nest, and once they're far enough, it's all up to Akito. Akito scrambled up the cliff and sneaked a peek right into the rockbird's nest. And right there it is, the egg. He stayed dead silent as he snuck up to the nest and grabbed an egg, and now the only thing left is to make it back in one piece. He tried to lift it up, but the thing wouldn't even budge because it was just way too heavy. Olivia asks what's wrong, and Akito turns to her with a quick apology. This thing is way heavier than he expected. Trying to stay quiet while lugging it around is going to... They were just about to get away when she accidentally stepped on a branch. The rock totally spots them and starts zooming right their way. This is seriously bad news. Akito jumped in front of Olivia, yelled for her to stay down, and let his axe fly with a massive swing, snapping one of its claws right off. Man, he just made Mama Bird super mad, and now that he's staring her down, he can finally feel that insane pressure. He's totally cooked. Just one stomp from those claws sent a massive shockwave everywhere, but he had to find a way to break through. He swings his axe right at its foot because Olivia is the only one who can handle the egg, so he's basically forced to do this, just so every single one of them can get back home in one piece. Bucci starts freaking out when another one heads for the nest, and things are looking really bad for Akito and Olivia. He yelled to get Akito's attention, shouting that it was time for Plan B, and since he and Tama could get back safely, Akito called for Olivia to move out. He just chucked one of the eggs straight at those rockbirds. They scrambled to catch the egg in a total panic, and just like that, there's the opening. They grabbed each other's hands and the egg. Then Akito used his teleport magic to warp them straight back to the campsite. Suddenly, a crazy bright light just exploded out of nowhere. Just like that, they finally made it back to the campsite. The eggs made it down too, but man, they definitely hit the ground way harder than they should have. They actually pulled it off, and as Olivia grabbed his hands to hype him up, Akito just smiled and thanked her. Suddenly, they both looked down and realized they're actually holding hands. They let go and turned away, both saying sorry before Akito changed the subject to ask if Bucci and Tama were the mountain group. The plan was for everyone to head back together, but if things got messy, they were supposed to meet at Minyon Village, so now they've got to take the egg and make sure their friends are actually safe. They finally hit the village, hoping Bucci and Tama made it back in one piece. Bucci is a local who knows every inch of this place. Akito wants to trust him, but he's still... Right then, those two shouted out from right behind them. I pulled Kito into a big hug, and he was just so relieved that everyone was safe. Bucci was a total beast today, but what was that secret plan again? Oh yeah, it's literally just running away. They sprinted like crazy just to get some ice cream, and since that giant rock was busy with Akito and Olivia, they managed to slip away totally safe. Man, that's not even a secret plan. That's just some wild motivation. The next day, Akito dropped 5 points to snag a brand new ice cream maker. Now they can finally whip up some ice cream. The cats helped them toss goat's milk, rock egg yolks, and sugar into a giant tub, and once it was all blended together, Akito tells Olivia to fire up her magic because there's actually a secret cooling power hidden inside. They pop the lid on and roll it around like crazy to make some ice cream. Tama and Bucci start shoving the tub to get it rolling. The rest of the cats jump right in, and they're clearly having a total blast. It's honestly just too cute. They each got handed their own bowl, and it tastes just as amazing as they remembered. Everyone's saying they need to build a statue for Akito and Olivia, making Akito laugh nervously while praying they don't, as Olivia turns to thank him. He said he wanted everyone to get home safe, right? Yeah, he totally did, even though he was just swinging his axe around like a total amateur. But Olivia wasn't having it. She thought he looked freaking awesome. He's super thankful to hear her say that, but even though Olivia smiles at him,
She sighs the second she looks away because they're still totally out of luck finding any meat. Bucci overheard and asked if she was craving meat, telling her to head straight to the cave because it's packed with tasty treats. This place is super mysterious and packed with rare monsters, gorgeous views, and tons of delicious food, making Akito and Olivia totally hyped to start their cave adventure. This time she's 100% scoring that meat for sure. They followed Bucci's lead and ended up right at a massive rock wall covered in mushrooms. These cave mushrooms are totally edible, and they taste and smell incredible whether you cook them up or just eat them raw in a salad. This is the big moment. Bucci told them if they find those cave mushrooms, they can trade them straight for some bacon. Akito was literally drooling just thinking about all the fire meals he could cook with these. A bacon and mushroom stir-fry would taste insane. They definitely had to grab them and head back. They finally made it to the cave Bucci told them about. With that massive statue right there, this has gotta be the entrance. That statue looks exactly like Bucci, and check it out. It's got a big 0 on its belly. Akito remembers Bucci saying these statues show the monster levels, and since things get... The entrance is only full of weaklings, so they need to head deeper inside right now if they want to find any good meat. Olivia grabs a stick, totally ready to finally hunt down some meat. Her arms are itching for a fight, but just as she's about to head inside, Akito stops her because he's got something to give her. The cave is pitch black, so he hands the lantern over and Olivia reaches out to grab it. But their fingers accidentally brushed, and she totally freaked out, jumping back and apologizing for being so awkward. She asked if she could hold the light, and Akito didn't even think twice before handing her the lantern. Olivia snatched it up and clicked the switch to turn it on. Now that they're all geared up, it's time for them to head deep into the cave. Olivia was totally spooked by the dark, but kept pushing forward anyway, so Akito knew he had to step up and have her back. Right before they entered the cave, she looked back. They pushed deeper into the cave and spotted another statue with a number 1 on its belly, so it looks like level 1 starts right now. The coast is clear for now, so they better get a move on. While they're walking, Akito hears a weird noise from above and looks up just as a massive swarm of bugs crashes down on him. Are those things actually monsters? Man, there are way too many of them to fight off. Olivia was just about to ask if Akito was okay, but then she noticed the bugs were actually smothering the light from the lanterns. She screams at the top of her lungs for him to keep his hands off. She just blasted all those bugs away, and while everyone's wondering what just happened, Olivia just sighs and says she used her pure willpower to keep them off her light. Man, her aura is actually insane. Right at that moment, Olivia spotted something. They filled Akito in and rushed over to see if it was actually safe to eat. They headed over to the plants while Akito wondered what he was even looking at. It's super weird for plants to grow in total darkness, so Akito goes to see if they're edible. But suddenly, a pair of eyes starts staring back at him from the shadows. A massive centipede monster lunges forward to take them down. He snapped right into a defensive stance. That's when Akito finally realized just how massive this centipede really was. The monster lunges with its fangs and shoves him back, leaving a freaked-out Olivia to scream, "What is that?" While Akito just guesses it might be a centipede. Maybe? Right as it whipped around to face them again, Olivia's lantern slipped right out of her hand and hit the ground. Akito screamed at her to hit the deck, and he swung his axe with everything he had. But it's just way too powerful. The beast snatched the axe right between its fangs, and Akito clicked his tongue, desperately trying to yank it back when... The monster is closing in fast, and he's in serious trouble if those legs even touch him. Olivia yelled out for Akito in a panic while he finally managed to yank his axe back. He leaps into the air and slams his axe right onto its head. And just like that, the whole thing finally came crashing down. Blood sprays everywhere from its head, and it looks like they finally took it down. Olivia cheered for Akito and asked if he was hurt, but he just told her he was totally fine and stoked that they actually won. Suddenly, a notification popped up over the monster, saying the Marvel giant centipede is actually toxic and has to be cooked before it's safe to eat. Once it's boiled, it tastes just like shrimp and is actually super good, but Akito was totally grossed out. Olivia sees his weird face and asks if he's hurt, but nope. He just realized this monster actually tastes amazing if they boil it. She just stared at him in total shock, and her face went completely cold. He totally saw this coming, because you need way more than just guts to handle how gross this is getting. They even had to censor it. They should just forget about it. And Olivia was totally down because their only real goal is finding some delicious meat, so she grabbed the lantern and moved on. But then the light just died and the whole cave went pitch black. Olivia just crumpled to the ground, her whole body shaking like crazy. Akito dropped down and pulled her into his arms. He tries to whisper something sweet to calm her down, but he's totally panicking because the light is dead, and he knows Olivia can't handle the dark. She's crying her eyes out while clinging to him and saying sorry. but Akito just pulls her in and tells her it's okay. Noticing she's shaking like crazy and realizing he's gotta get Olivia out of this cave alive, but it's gonna be super sketchy if they bump into another monster like that. Wait, he just spotted something, and if he looks really closely, it actually gets a bit brighter deeper inside. Akito asks if she can walk, but when she shakes her head, he apologizes and scoops her up to sprint deeper into the cave. He finally hit the light and told Olivia they were safe, pointing out these crazy glowing stones that were shining super bright.
Those have gotta be magic light stones.
This will totally work as a light, so now they can finally take a quick breather. Olivia shyly steps out of Akito's arms and apologizes for being awkward. But when she starts to stumble, he grabs her hand to steady her and tells her it's totally fine to keep holding on. There's no need to rush, because the only thing that matters is her getting out of there in one piece. She stared right at him with a bright red face and eyes that were totally sparkling. She actually took a second to say thanks. Akito reached down and snatched up this totally stunning magic stone. The minion tribe usually swaps these stones with humans, so they thought about using them as flashlights. But Olivia realized these huge, top-tier magic stones are way too valuable to just trade for some snacks. Akito tells her to take as many as she wants, leaving Olivia totally stunned since he's the one who actually found them. He doesn't even need that stuff while he's stuck on this island, and since firewood is plenty for him, he tells her to take it back as a gift to help out Olivia. To her, Akito is so pure that he glows way brighter than any of these shiny gems. But he swears that's not the case, and now he's dead set on. Olivia just laughed and went along with it without putting up a fight. Akito was totally lost in her smile, thinking that since Olivia is usually so bubbly, seeing her that terrified means she's definitely hiding some deep trauma. But he didn't even notice she was staring right back at him. She's the only thing he thinks about, and he'd do literally anything for her. If it's him, she might finally have the guts to say it. She called out to get his attention because she had something she really needed him to hear. That's the full story of her crazy past, and since it all ends at chapter 10, thanks for watching. I hope you guys love this manga, and have an awesome day.